Hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm Patty. I go by Pattymac Makes everywhere online. And in today's video, I'm sharing a really fun, super easy, classic quilt block with you. You can see this block on my cutting table, and this block is known as the Pinwheel block. And it's called the pinwheel because it looks like one of those vintage pinwheels spinning in the wind. This block is featured as the fourth block in my Power of 3 row quilt. So today I'm going to show you how to put it together and how it will go into the final row quilt. Now you can make this block for any purpose you like. It does not have to be part of that particular quilt, but if you would like to make the quilt along with us, I will give you some other links down below, and it will give you specific measurements and instructions on making this block yourself, linked to a blog post below. So I think you're going to love this, and if you have been working along with us in the quilt along, you will really enjoy this block, because after last week's diamond block, which was really challenging, this one is just super fun and you will sail through making it. Okay, let's take a look. This block is made from 4 distinct blocks, and each one is a half square triangle. And what I have done is a color and a background, and I've made sure that there's a lot of contrast between the color and the background. You'll want that, otherwise your pinwheel shape is going to get lost in the fabric. So make sure that you have a really pronounced difference between your lights and your darks. I'll show you the back. So I have pressed my seams open across this part of the block, and that is to try to take some of the weight out in the center, because in the center all of your points are going to convene in one, and it's very easy for this to get a little bit bulky. So by pressing all of those central seams open, it does help with the bulk. Now in a perfect world, all of our points will convene in the middle and we'll have all perfect points, and sometimes it happens and sometimes it doesn't. So I would say don't flip if it's not perfect. Mine here that I'm showing you today is not completely perfect. And you know, I show you these things so that you don't get hung up on the perfection, and that you keep quilting even if your block is not the textbook definition of perfect. So let's look at what we need to make this. So you will need, well, let me just back up. For purposes of this quilt block that I'm making, it's going into my Power of 3 quilt, so I wanted to use 2 colors in each pinwheel. So I have a red and a background and a blue and a background. And I will be making 2 at a time half square triangles. So for each block, you'll want 1 of each color and 2 background squares. And I'm not going to get too in the weeds on making the half square triangles because I have videos and blog posts on doing those that are more thorough. So let's just go ahead and say that we're going to make the 2 half square triangles, and we're going to piece them, and then we're going to trim them down so that each block measures 6.5 inches square. So what I'm going to do is construct those 4 HST blocks. I'm going to press them, I'm going to trim them, and then I'll come back and meet you here and show you how to put this block together. I've made my 4 half square triangles, and in the case of this particular quilt block, we're making a finished size of 12.5 inches, so I want each block to be 6.5 inches. And what we're going to do is we're going to lay out our design. And you're just going to want to take a minute and make sure you have everything as it should be. So I demonstrated this in a previous video, and I'm going to show you again. the way a lot of these quilt blocks go together, you're basically making one quarter square of a hole, and then you're rotating everything on an axis. So let's line it up so that this piece and this piece are in the same design. So you've got the background here and the color here, and your line is going the same way. In fact, let's just take these out for a second. So to get our design of the pinwheel, we're going to start there, and then we're going to rotate one rotation. And then we'll take our next one in, and let's make it look exactly like this. And then we're going to rotate it one rotation. And then we'll take our last one, making sure it's the same orientation, and then we'll rotate it one rotation. And when you do it that way, magically, it all goes together perfectly. So I highly recommend taking that time to really make sure you have your design as it should be going into your finished block design. Something that will help is to lay everything out and then take a picture, because I'm telling you, for some reason, I don't know why this is, your eye can look at it and doesn't record when something is off, but if you take a picture and then look at the picture, you will instantly see it. So this is a great use for your camera phone. It doesn't have to be a fancy picture. Just a quick snapshot. Look at that image on the still photo, and if you have got something out of place, instantly you will see it. Okay, so now to put this block together, it's so easy, because basically what do we have? We have a 4-patch. So we're going to put these two right sides together, and then we're going to put these two right sides together. And then we're going to take it over to the sewing machine, and we're going to sew along this line. Now you can see that I have pressed my seams to the dark side on both, and this block is just so handy, because when you do that, you automatically have your seams going in opposite directions, so you get these beautiful nested seams, and then it makes it really nice for getting that corner to line up as it should. The big thing in this block is you really want those the center pieces to line up perfectly. So you know, when I'm quilting, I use a combination of pins and clips. And when I want something to just stay completely in place and not budge at all, that's when I will use a pin. And I also will make sure that I pin at the beginning and at the end, and then that will hold everything in place as it needs to be while I am doing the sewing. And you can just fold back and make sure that everything lines up where it needs to be. Really taking that time to line everything up before you get to the machine, that is just time well spent. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. I'm going to now just sew here and press, and I will be right back, and we'll finish this block. All right, I've sewn my top and bottom halves, everything's together, and we're going to put this together to make our pinwheel design. But I want you to see this. So you might get back and you're trying to put your piece together and you're like, well, that's not quite right, but you know what? That's just another cool design. You would be amazed at how many really fun, cool designs you can make just with these half square triangles. But this is not what we're making today. We're making a pinwheel, and so we're going to now just switch, and then there is our design. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to start with the center seam, and notice that you've got this little bit of extra here and this little bit of extra there. That is your seam allowance. And so when we turn these right sides together, in order to get the most perfect middle that we can get, we want to make sure that we line up this tip with that tip, because this is your visual landmark. Let me come closer. This is your visual landmark. You want to be sewing on this side of the point to retain the point in your half square triangle. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a pin and I'm going to put it right there at that point, and then I'm going to come through and I'm going to find the point on that side, and I'm just going to take a little bit of time to get everything pinned together. And then I can check my front and my back, and I can see that I have those lined up and attached. And then what you're going to want to do is make sure that you have both ends where they need to be. So we'll take it to the machine, and I have done 3 pins, the beginning, the middle, and the end. And I'm going to run the seam on this side, so it'll go through the machine like this. And then as I approach that middle point, I want to make sure that I'm to the left-hand side of the point to retain the points. And then I will press it and come back, and we'll see what we have. And hopefully it'll be a perfect center point. Here's our finished pinwheel block, and yeah, this one I got absolutely perfect. So all of my points are intact and they're all meeting right there in the center. And you know, it's a lot of bulk because you've got 8 seams that are all converging on the center. So that's a lot. Even though this is a very simple block, I think that if you do it well, it's quite lovely. So just like they say for actors, there are no small parts, only small actors. There are no small quilt blocks either. They're all important, and they all allow you to work on different skills and different abilities. And I think they're all like super rewarding. So this is the pinwheel, and if you are following along with the Power of 3 quilt, you'll only need to make 4 of these, and you will have your complete row. So I'm going to go ahead and do my next 2, and then I will have this whole row complete. This is the easiest row in the quilt, I am not going to lie to you. And what a relief after the diamond. The diamond was not the easiest thing I've ever done, but the sense of accomplishment when you're done is really fantastic. So that is the video for today. I hope that you are inspired to make pinwheel blocks and enjoy them because they're very nice, and you know, you can just really have some fun with them. You could do scrappy pinwheels and do something different in each spot where I've got a color, but you know, use the same background. So if you use the same background, that would tie together your design. So have fun with substituting in different fabrics if you like, but leave your background the same, and I think you will have a really beautiful project. And you know what, that really has me thinking that maybe I want to do that for my next project. We'll see. Okay, that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video, and we're going to scoot right on to our very last block in this quilt project. Until then, I'll see you around YouTube, and happy sewing!